What's happening, my friends? Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, let's talk about Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz at UFC 300 or Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal at UFC 300. So this is the latest buzz in MMA community online. There's a clip and video of Mike Perry calling UFC matchmaker Hunter Campbell, pitching an idea for him to return to the UFC 300 and face Nate Diaz. Hunter Campbell had a comeback, had a retort. He's like, I got a better idea. But that wasn't divulged. It's kind of like a secret to my knowledge. What's the better idea? That's what I want to know. But let's talk about Perry versus Diaz, and let's talk about Masvidal versus Diaz. So the Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz fight, I didn't find it competitive. Not to say that a rematch wouldn't be. I mean, that fight could go another way if they rematch. You never know. That's the unpredictability of fighting. Anything can happen. Nate Diaz is a dog. I mean, you have to take the guy out literally to defeat him. He's just like a mixed martial arts Terminator, just keeps coming forward. Nate Diaz has to be one of the most durable fighters in the history of the sport. He's certainly up there. He's so durable that you could be beating him and you'll get tired and fatigued from putting it on Nate, and then he'll come back and beat you. That could have been the case in the Masvidal fight. I mean, it was stopped due to a cut, but Masvidal was he was putting it on Nate. I personally didn't find it competitive, but you never know if the fight would have kept going, because Nate, as well as his brother Nick before him, they learned how to weaponize cardio. Cardio is definitely one of the greatest attributes to have in mixed martial arts. If you don't have any cardio and conditioning, you're done. You're not going to make it far. That's something that people learn right away when they go on that mixed martial arts adventure. You could cycle for like 12 miles at a time consistently. You could run your marathons. You could do this, you could do that. But being in fight shape is a completely different thing, and it's broken up into sections. There's striking cardio and there's cardio for grappling and wrestling. I personally find grappling and wrestling like more cardio and conditioning intense. I feel like you can get a better win in the striking department quicker than you could get your grappling win and cardio up. It's brutal, man. You learn real quick what being in shape means. And then there's like mixed martial arts shape, just standard general shape, and there's fight shape, like you have a fight coming up. That's a whole other level. I've experienced it twice. I haven't competed in a mixed martial arts setting, but I've trained for 2 fights. Brutal. So going back on topic, I mean, if you have mega cardio, that is a massive advantage. It's like, let's say if you get into a fight and there's no time limit, if you have way better cardio and conditioning than your opponent, eventually, if you don't get knocked out or tapped out, you're going to take that fight over. It doesn't matter how strong somebody is. If you have no cardio and conditioning, you're going to be as weak as a baby at some point. They say fatigue makes cowards of men. That is so true. So with Nate and Masvidal, if that fight would have kept going, you never know. Jorge could have burnt himself out and Nate could have started taking the fight over. But would I want to see a rematch? Would you guys want to see a rematch? I mean, I would tune in if that's what they're going to book. I'm not going to say I'll be doing cartwheels over it. I'd want to see something different, man. I want to see Nate versus Mike Perry. I personally got Mike Perry in that one, but damn, it would be a hell of a fight. Would the UFC allow Mike Perry to come back? I mean, to my understanding, he left on good terms. So, yup, it's possible Perry could come back. He's left the UFC and he's arguably become a bigger star in the, combat sports world. Mike's been doing big things, man. I'm really happy for the guy. He's done very well for himself. That bare knuckle scene, I mean, that's his world. The guy was built for that. But yeah, I would love to see Mike Perry back. I mean, I think the guy's a star. He has a magnetic personality. He's super funny. He's raw. He's unfiltered. That's a breath of fresh air in this day and age. UFC 300 is shaping up to be crazy. The rumors and the fights I see they're announcing, man, they're going big. So out of those two, Masvidal versus Diaz and Perry versus Diaz, I'd rather see Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz. But that's just me. Now, here's another thing. There's rumors of Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz boxing. I think that kind of evens up the odds a little bit for Nate. Who would I pick in a boxing match? Damn, it's tough. I mean, the power and physicality definitely has to go to Jorge. The overall boxing skill, I mean, pretty equal. I mean, I might even lean towards Masvidal as far as like boxing skill. He's very crafty, man. Very tricky, nice setups. But I've only seen Masvidal use his hands in the mixed martial arts world. Who knows what he looks like with boxing gloves on, straight hands. Nate, we saw him straight hands going against Jake Paul. He looked okay. He was definitely outgunned. So with that, in a boxing setting, I think I still would go with Jorge. I think it would be a little bit more of the same of Nate with Jake Paul. I think Masvidal's physicality and his power, I think he would do more damage on Nate. And I think Jorge could survive to the end of the boxing match and win via decision. But I do like Nate's odds better in the boxing ring against Jorge. But yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, let me know what you think. What would you rather see? Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, the rematch, or Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz? My pick is Mike Perry. What do you think about Jorge boxing Nate Diaz? Would you tune into that? Who would you have winning that one? Thanks for listening, guys, or watching. Appreciate it. And until the next segment, you all take care. Later, my friends.